Before we start the Professor Tensai segment, I wanted to go ahead and just give like a few quick like final thoughts on Persona 5 Royal just as a game. Yes, Matthias, that was pretty intense. I'm telling you, man, that game is like, whew, that game is nuts, man. Half-Life Alex is like something else, man. I really haven't played a game like Half-Life Alex before. It's just so intense. But anyway, so Persona 5 Royal, man, for one thing, Persona 5 Royal is like a super long game. Like, I was probably going through it slower than most people do, and I don't know how much of that is due to the fact that I was just playing, I mean, first playthrough, hard difficulty, so I don't know if I'm guessing hard difficulty probably adds more time than like on normal or easy difficulty. But I mean, I spent like over 200 hours on this playthrough in total. The game honestly could be a little shorter. Like, it doesn't need to be that freaking long, man. In a way, though, it's kind of sad that it's over, you know? I mean, I really like the game. I think the characters in particular really make that game memorable because I mean, I don't know if there's another game out there that explores so many different characters in such depth the way Persona 5 Royal does. I mean, you have, I think, 10 different girls in the game that you can romance. So, I mean, you have just all sorts of possibilities as far as like getting to know people and building relationships with them. I mean, to me, that makes the game really unique, I think. I don't know if there's another game out there that really does it in that much depth. So I mean, to me, that I think is the most like memorable thing about Persona 5. There are, a few maybe minor issues here and there, like I don't know, just like some of the little like character bits that they did, I wasn't really into, especially with Ryuji. I think they did a few things with him that I thought were kind of dumb and just they shouldn't have really done it. And then there are like two like really big things I think in Persona 5 that keep it from being this really great game. The first thing is I feel like some of the antagonists, like the people that you fight in the palaces, were really weak, like character wise, especially towards the beginning of the game. Like Madarame, I think, and Kaneshiro in particular. Those two, especially Kaneshiro. Kaneshiro is just like, okay, here's this mafia dude. Now here's his palace. Go fight. you know it just there was almost no build up for Kanashiro's palace, so it just kind of felt like you were going through the motions with his palace. And then like I think the second thing, and I don't know, some people might think this is kind of not that big a deal, but I think it is. And that would be there are two boss fights in particular in this game that I think just shouldn't have been in the game, and that's obviously the most flagrant one is the Okamura fight. That the Okamura boss fight is just ugh. You just hate thinking about it. It makes you wonder like what the game designers were thinking. Like putting that boss fight into that game. Some people might say, well, it's just one boss fight. It's just one little piece of a huge game. Well, not really. I think it's a big fucking deal when you put a boss fight like Okumura in there, it just spoils the whole experience. And then the second boss fight is actually a royal only fight, which is the final fight of Persona 5 Royal, which is Maruki. On hard difficulty, Maruki is just so fucking OP that he's just impossible to beat because you just cannot take away enough HP from him in time before he does his big attack that's supposed to just one shot kill you. And the fact that I struggled so much with those two boss fights might be partially my fault in a sense because I basically went through the entire game like underleveled. So that could have definitely contributed to my inability to beat some of those bosses. So, I mean, if I were to play through the game again, I would definitely focus more on getting experience as I go through. I think I think a big part of that was that a lot of the fights that I did in the palaces, I would just hit their weakness and then I would do the negotiation and do like give me money or give me an item. I wouldn't finish out the fight. And you always get less experience when you do the negotiation as opposed to if you just fight them until they run out of HP and you kill them. So that would be something I would do differently if I were to play the game again. I noticed that like I went into the final Maruki boss fight at level 83, and when you go to the network and look at the like average level at this point, it was like 98. So I was like 15 levels below the average level that people are at that point in the game. So it's hard to say how much of the fact that those two bosses were such bitches were just the game and how much of it was because I should have done better with my experience going through the game. I don't know if I want to go through a whole nother playthrough of that game. I mean, obviously, if I were to do another playthrough of it, I would skip a lot of the cutscenes and stuff, so it wouldn't take nearly as long as it did the first time. But still, even if I skipped all the cutscenes and stuff, it'd probably still take a long time to get through the game again. But I don't know. I might still do it at some point, just not right now. I need to take a break from Persona 5. That's all I got for my final thoughts on the game. All right, well, let's go ahead and let's do this. Let's start the new segment of my stream. Ladies and gentlemen, a Professor Tensai is here to give you a lecture because that's what he does. He gives lectures. And this is going to be a really interesting one, I think. So let's go ahead and get this started here. Wow, what a way to start this off. I forget to unmute the mic. Welcome, waifus and husbandos, to the debut lecture of Professor Tensai. And what better way to start off this lecture series than tackling head on one of the most contentious waifu wars in the entire world of fandom, the Persona 5 waifu war. It's a tense one, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very contentious waifu war. And as you know, Persona 5 has just a plethora of wonderful waifus to choose from. How do you choose a best girl from Persona 5? I mean, there's just so many wonderful choices. But we're going to break it down tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break it down. And before we get to that, I would like to kind of just give you an introduction of who I am, Professor Tensai. I have been watching anime for about 17 years now, so you could definitely say I am an anime veteran. And I've been playing video games for much longer than even that. In fact, I've been playing video games for about 3 decades. I can't even remember the first time I picked up my parents' Atari controller and actually played a game. It was so long ago, I was just a little wee kid. And as you can see uh, on the screen, I have a PhD in wifology. So, obviously, watching anime for nearly 2 decades, I have observed um, waifus and how they behave for a very long time. But wifology is not just about watching anime and admiring the waifus that are in anime. No, you see, you have to have a deep understanding of why waifus act the way that they do, why they behave the way that they do. And not only that, but you also have to understand why people are attracted to waifus. So you could say that wifology requires a very deep academic study of human psychology. What I want to do is kind of give you a few general tips, things that I find people in general find attractive about waifus. Before we start breaking down the Persona 5 waifus, let's go through. I have like 5 things that people generally are attracted to in waifus. Now, this is by no means a comprehensive list. Obviously, to do something like a comprehensive list would be a very complex thing because different people have different priorities, different things that they value more than other people might. But even with that in mind, I still find that these 5 particular things are pretty good for predicting how the general public will regard different waifus in anime and video games. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. Let me pull up the image here. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the first, what I consider key waifu material quality would be the waifu has to be fun loving. So if you have a waifu that's serious like all the time and doesn't seem to cut loose with anybody, then that waifu is pretty boring, right? It's hard to see yourself in a relationship with a waifu that is just serious all the time and never seems to have any fun. So when a waifu likes to have fun with you, then that means that they're opening up to you, that they're comfortable with showing their emotions to you. So I have some examples of waifus that I consider sort of like exemplary for each of these qualities, and the waifus that I would consider exemplary, very good examples of fun loving would be chunis. So I have pictured here Rika Takanashi from Chunibyo, um, Kuroneko from Oreimo, and Kobito Hasegawa from I Don't Have Many Friends, aka Haganai. All 3 of them are chunis, and all 3 of them like to have fun. I mean, Choonies, you know, they want to like bring you into their Choonie world, and that's how they open up to you, right? So like Kobato Hasegawa, for example, she really likes to play video games a lot, and she likes to put on this like vampire persona, so she like drinks fake blood and stuff. I mean, you can really see yourself having fun around a waifu like that, right? So let's move on to the second example here. The second key waifu material quality is the waifu should be compassionate and caring and loving. I mean, this is like really important, I think, to being a high quality waifu. I mean, it should be pretty self-explanatory what that entails. But to give you an example, I have here Mayuri Shina from Steins Gate. I think she's really the best waifu when it comes to being a caring, loving person. And she's a very underrated waifu too, because all throughout Steins Gate, and even in Steins Gate Zero especially, I mean, you could just see how much passion that she has for Okabe Rintaro. And in fact, I think that Okabe would personally be even happier if he had chosen Mayuri as his significant other instead of Makise Krisu, because Mayuri would just make you feel so warm and cared for. So, I mean, another just very high quality waifu. So the third key waifu material quality would be um, balance between strength and vulnerability. This one is kind of interesting because seeing a woman that is like independent and can take on life by the horns and is real independent. I mean, that's a major turn on. But at the same time, if she is too independent, if she's just like she does everything perfectly by herself and you're trying to be in a relationship with her, then it feels like you're not really contributing anything to the relationship. So you don't want the waifu to be just like absolutely perfect at everything, right? But then on the other end of the spectrum, you could have a waifu that is just so dependent on you or her boyfriend that she ends up being like really clingy. And yeah, you do not want a waifu that is like super clingy because clingy girls tend to all act the same, right? And clingy girls are going to have like a lot of expectations for the person that she's in a relationship with, and there's no way that you're going to be able to live up to those expectations because she she's going to be just super unrealistic with what she expects out of you in the relationship. So what you want is you want a waifu that's like in between those extremes, right? You want a waifu that can take care of things that come up in her life most of the time, but then every once in a while she'll need your help. So you at least feel like that you're contributing to the relationship and that she cares about you because you're helping her with certain things in life. So the example I have for this one is Shauna from Shakugan no Shauna. And the reason for that is Shauna, if you've watched the anime, you know that she's a total badass, right? She just slays all the enemies in her path, and she tries to just take everything that is thrown at her just head on, like by herself, right? But then at the same time, Shauna is not very socially adept, right? So she's like a tsundere, right? So she kind of like she has trouble opening up to people. And with I think his name is Yuji, the protagonist in Shakugan no Shana, she gets to a point where she gets like jealous because he's like hanging out with other girls, but she doesn't really express that jealousy in a very constructive way. So she needs help, when dealing with certain social things. So I think that she strikes a really good balance between being badass, I'm gonna take everybody on kind of person, and then also this just socially awkward girl who needs help with trying to open up and getting along with people. So let's move on to the fourth key waifu material quality. The waifu has to be capable of growth. This quality in particular heavily depends on how the character is written, right? So there might be like some character flaw, and the character spends the anime or video game or whatever trying to work on that flaw so that they can overcome it and become a better person. Because seeing a beautiful girl grow into an even more beautiful girl, I mean, that's a beautiful thing, right? The best example for this would be Kotomi Ichinose from Clanad, who is another just supremely high tier waifu. She's a very intelligent waifu. In fact, she's pretty much a genius, right? She doesn't even have to take class in high school because she like already is beyond anything high school can teach her. But the thing is, kind of like I was talking about with Shauna, Kotomi Ichinose is very socially awkward. She struggles very much to make friends, and so that's why she spends most of her time just sitting by herself in the library just reading books. But the thing is, Tomoyo comes along and wants to help her overcome that awkwardness and that shyness and make some friends. And, as we get towards the end of the series, she overcomes that social awkwardness and she makes friends with like Kyo Fujibayashi and Tomoyo and a few other characters in the anime. That right there is just a great example of what I mean by the kind of growth that you want to see in a waifu. So let's move on to the fifth waifu material quality. You want a waifu that does cute things. Now, this one is very hard to explain because I don't know if you can really put into words what I mean here by cute things, right? Because there's like a whole array of things that can really qualify here. It can be more overt, like obvious kind of behaviors, like for example, like saying "yeah" at the end of a sentence, kind of like Rin Hoshizora from Love Live. It could be something like obvious like that, or it can be something really subtle, like a very specific mannerism that a waifu shows in certain situations. And the example I have for this is my very own waifu, Tamako Kitashirakawa. Tamako like owns this category, right? She does cute things all the time. And I'm not going to try and like go through everything that she does, but basically if you want to know what doing cute things is about, go watch Tamako Market and observe Tamako. That's all you got to do. I mean, she's like the queen of doing cute things. And actually, some of the other waifus that I brought up before are pretty good on this category too. Rika Takanashi is another really good one. Katomi Ichinose. So you might notice a pattern. Kyo Annie girls, yeah. You can pretty much watch any Kyo Annie anime, and you're gonna have cute waifus doing cute things. And then just to kind of throw in like a bonus quality, if you have a waifu that is thought provoking, this would mean that she's a very smart waifu, and so she'll talk about certain topics and things that get your brain working. That's a very nice thing to have in a waifu. You like to have a waifu that's intellectually stimulating. The problem with that one though is most of the waifus in anime are in high school, so they're not gonna be very thought-provoking people. So that quality is pretty rare in anime, but I mean, you still have some good examples like maybe Kurisu Makise from Steins Gate. I mean, she's a very smart girl, so she can say things that are intellectually stimulating. I will be using these key waifu material qualities to kind of analyze the Persona 5 waifus and rank them. There are 12 that I'm going to cover here, and I'm going to rank them from 12 to 1. So we're going to be counting down. And before I get into the rankings here, let me go ahead. What I'm showing right here is not the final ranking. This is actually the ranking that I compiled about a month and a half ago, I think. Not too long before I quit streaming Persona 5, before I entered the new content in the third semester. So you have kind of an idea of my thinking here heading into third semester. There's going to be a little movement here. The ranking is not going to be exactly what you see here. There's going to be some shuffling, some moving around. I say let's go ahead and dive into it, ladies and gentlemen. Starting with last place, number 12, we have Sai Nijima. Unfortunately for Sai, she doesn't really have a character arc like the other waifus that I'm going to cover here. So there's not really much to go on with Sai. You don't really get to know her on a very personal level. So I really have no choice but to stick her in last place. The biggest thing that you see with Sai is kind of her relationship with her sister Makoto, and it starts out pretty rough, at least in my opinion. At towards the beginning of the game, it seems like Makoto and Sai are really not on the same page with each other. It seems to me like Sai doesn't even really try to understand where Makoto is coming from. But then, obviously, towards the end of the game, their relationship seems to improve a lot, and Makoto and Sai end up being pretty close. Of course, it doesn't really go into what they did to reach that point, but I don't think that it's very fruitful to try and go through those five waifu material qualities with Sai because, like I said, you don't really get to see her on a personal level during the game. So let's go ahead and move on to number 11. We have Justine and Caroline slash Lavenza. I'm putting all three of those characters kind of together as like one character here. As you find out towards the end of the game, Justine and Caroline were actually split off from this girl named Lavenza. And so Lavenza is actually who they originally were. And then they got split off. And then at the end of the game, they kind of merge back together and become Lavenza again. Justine and Caroline, I'll admit, they have some of the most amusing segments in the entire game. I really thought that like some of the those moments where you like take them out to show them like the aquarium or whatever. Those are like some of the funniest parts in the game. I had them ranked higher before, but then like they merge into Lavenza, and Lavenza is just she's totally different from Justine and Caroline. That whole fun aspect of Justine and Caroline just gets thrown out the window, and Lavenza is just like a totally forgettable character. She contributes absolutely nothing to the story, really. And even with Justine and Caroline, the whole deal with them and Eager didn't really even feel like it was necessary in the story. You could have cut the whole Velvet Room, Eager, and Justine and Caroline thing out of the story, and it wouldn't really make that much of a difference. Plus, also, I mean, just imagine like trying to have a romantic relationship with them. Like, come on, man. There's no way, right? I mean, imagine Justine or Caroline trying to be romantic. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, I didn't quite put them in last place because, at least they would be fun to hang around with. At least you would have a good time with them, but can't put them any higher than number 11. So let's move on here. Number 10, we have Hifumi Togo. I never really connected that much with Hifumi. I felt like she was kind of a boring waifu, to be honest. If we go through the key qualities of waifus here, capable of having fun. I think Hifumi is capable of having fun, but in a very specific way because she's like really into shogi. Like that's pretty much her life is shogi. And she doesn't really show any potential to open up and have fun with somebody outside of the world of shogi. So if you try to imagine a romance with Hifumi, it's kind of awkward, honestly. Compassionate and caring, again, I mean, she's passionate for shogi, but, Also, I should have mentioned earlier, one of the five qualities that I talked about, capable of growth, the way that Persona 5 works, you're going to see that particular quality pretty much across the board with these waifus, at least to some extent, because each of these waifus have a character arc, right? And Joker is working to help them overcome something. So there's going to be growth with each of these characters to some extent. Although with Hifumi, she probably experiences the least growth, honestly, out of anybody on this list. Because really, Joker just goes and steals her mother's heart, right? And then her mother decides not to like try to exploit her for money anymore. She doesn't really become a better shogi player or anything after that. She just kind of goes on about her business. She obviously wants to focus on shogi and kind of get rid of the whole idol thing because that's what her mother was trying to push onto her was she was going to be like an idol slash shogi player, but she wasn't really into the whole idol thing. She tries to separate herself from that, but outside of that, I don't really feel like there's really much character development with Hifumi. So that's why I put her down here at number 10. So we'll move on to number 9. We have Tai Takemi. She's got some things going for her. Like she's one of the smartest characters in the game, obviously, because she's a doctor, right? She might have something going in that bonus quality that I talked about, being thought provoking, but I don't really remember any specific part in the game where that really comes out, where she really like displays her intelligence or whatever. You just kind of assume that she's intelligent because she's a doctor, right? Hey, Rodrigo. How you doing? Yeah, I haven't really set up donations. I'm not really doing that kind of thing. Not looking for money from doing this stuff. So, going through some of the other qualities that I mentioned. Okay, well, hey, I appreciate it, Rodrigo. Thank you very much. Thanks for the follow, and hopefully I'll see you around in some other streams. So going through some of these other waifu qualities, like capable of having fun. I don't think you really see that with Tai Takemi. She tends to be pretty serious most of the time. Compassionate and caring. Now this quality here, I think she demonstrates pretty well because you can tell that she cares about her patients, right? Because she goes through her whole character arc is based around trying to find a cure for this condition that this little girl has. She really dedicates herself to finding that cure, so much so that I mean, she's willing to persevere through certain people trying to like shut her whole operation down, right? So I feel like that's one quality where she kind of shines is I think she can be a pretty passionate person. Balance between strength slash independence and vulnerability. She leans more towards the strong, independent kind of woman. You don't really get the sense that she's going to rely on Joker very much. So I don't know if being in a relationship with Tai Takemi would feel very rewarding in that sense. does cute things. Not really. She doesn't really do cute things. So yeah, Tai Takemi doesn't really rank very high in my estimation. So she's at number 9. So let's move on to number 8. We have Ichiko Oya. I think where she shines is she's capable of having fun, for sure. She's hanging out at the bar a lot and she drinks and she has a lot of fun drinking and talking to people. So I think in that sense, she would be kind of a nice waifu to have just because she can open up and have fun with people. Compassionate and caring, not so much. I don't really get that vibe from Oya. I don't think she's gonna be a very romantic waifu. Balance between strength, independence, and vulnerability. I'm not really sure about this one. I think she has the potential for maybe relying on Joker for certain things, but I don't really remember anything in particular from playing through the game where she does that. Capable of growth? Again, I don't really get that sense with Oya. And then does cute things? Again, I don't think she really does that a lot. Basically, her ranking here at number 8 is pretty much just based on the fact that she can cut loose and be a cool person to hang around. Also, there's kind of a bonus thing I think with Oya in the fact that she's really dedicated to pursuing the truth and cutting through the bullshit, and you gotta admire that, right? So I think those two things in particular bring her up, I think, beyond a few of the other waifus here in Persona 5. So let's move on to number 7. We have uh, oh, wait a second. Wait. No, 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 no. No, no, no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We've made a mistake here. Haru should not be at number 7. Um, no, 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 no. Haru is definitely best girl of Persona 5. So we're skipping 7 through 2 and we're going straight to number 1. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, your best girl of Persona 5 is Haru Okumura. Now please don't kill me, Haru. Please don't kill me, please. Okay. Just kidding, people. Just kidding. Jokes aside, yes, Haru is ranked at number 7, but I promise you, Haru, you're going to get a crown, actually, because I'm going to give you an award for something different. I bet you weren't expecting me to crown something else in Persona 5, but yes, I think Haru actually deserves a different crown, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But let's go through. I mean, Haru, oh my gosh. I actually do kind of want to rank her higher on this list than number 7 because she really is a really intriguing character. I do wish that she was more prevalent in the story, but as you know, Haru shows up pretty late in the story, so she doesn't have a lot of time to really establish herself as a character that you really care about. But Haru is she's just so pure and innocent. You have to take at least somewhat of a liking to her just for how pure and cute she is, right? At least 95% of the time, she's got that really cute personality going. But then the other 5% of the time, whew, eh. That other 5%, man, Haru can be a pretty scary person. And actually, there's nothing that demonstrates that more than something that happens right near the very end of Persona 5 Royal. Yeah, dude, like, okay, have you seen like some of her like Mementos dialogue? She's all like talking about how the shadows are cute and how she like gets exhilarated from the idea of slaying them with an axe. And there's just moments where you sense this like pent up stress that seems like it might boil over and she might just, yeah, you know? And there is no better example of that than this thing that I am giving the award for, which is Best Line of Dialogue in Persona 5. Ladies and gentlemen, the crown for Best Line in Persona 5 goes to Haru Okumura. Now, if I can just set some context here before I play the line that I'm talking about here. So, right near the end of Persona 5 Royal, you have Valentine's Day. So, you get to pick a date, like a person to date, right, on Valentine's Day. But if you followed my playthrough of Persona 5, then you know that I romanced every romanceable option in the game, with the exception of Tai Takemi, because I accidentally messed her thing up and I got friend zoned with Tai. So yeah, she was not romance, but every other romanceable option I romanced in Persona 5 Royal. So what happens when you romance multiple girls in the game is the day after Valentine's Day, you get this cutscene where they all come to Leblon at the same time and they all like crowd around Joker and they all go, on Valentine's Day, you were with another girl. And they all like start saying that he's like cheating on them and stuff. And then it culminates in them laying the smackdown on Joker's ass. But during this scene, Haru drops the best line in Persona 5. And this is the line right here. Let me play it for you. Here we go.
Take my chocolate, please, before I crush it. And here I came all.
Oh my god. Oh, that is like, oh, I love that line, man. Take my chocolate, please, before I crush it. Oh man. Ladies and gentlemen, the best line in Persona 5. Haru Okumura. Oh man. I mean, it's not even really the line itself. It's the way she delivers the line that makes it so good. Cause and I'd mentioned this before, like even during the stream. Haru with that little cutesy voice that she has, whenever she gets angry, it's just freaking hilarious. And it's just culminated in this one line that she delivers in this scene. Take my chocolate, please, before I crush it. You could just feel the pent up stress. That's just, I mean, she really sounds like she's just about to go complete ape shit on Joker there. And actually, after everybody delivers their oh, take my chocolate, I'm mad at you, but take my chocolate. Then they lay the smack down on Joker, but they don't show that part. They just show him lying on the floor after. I like to imagine in my head that when they do the beatdown of Joker, it's like Haru is just wailing, just fucking beating the shit out of Joker, right? And then every other girl that's there is just going like, "Ee," maybe like giving him little girly slaps or something. So it's mostly Haru that's delivering the beating on Joker, right? That's the way I kind of imagine it in my head going. So so congratulations, Haru, for taking the crown of best line in Persona 5. Let's go ahead and go through why she's ranked here at number 7. Capable of having fun. No, I don't know. I don't think so, really. I mean, the thing about Haru is she is just busy all the damn time, right? Because she has school, she becomes the majority owner of this big company. So she has like a huge amount of stress from that. So you can kind of understand where that anger kind of boiling down underneath everything is kind of coming from, because out of all the characters in this game, she's probably the one that has to take on the most shit, because she's taking on school. She has to deal with this big company that all of a sudden just falls into her lap because her father died. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention spoilers, people. If if you don't want spoilers, maybe don't tune into this presentation. I think in that sense, you really have to admire Haru, because she has to take on so much shit, right? And that makes her a really like strong, independent person. So what? Hold on. I'm trying to remember. Help me out here, Matthias. I'm trying to remember during her confidant arc. Is there any point where you have to go to Mementos and do a request for her? I'm sorry, folks. I'm turning up a blank here. I can't remember. Plus, she also has that thing where she's like into like growing plants, right? But personally, I think that's kind of a boring aspect of her. I'm trying to remember how Joker actually helps with her whole. Oh, wait. Okay, I think I remember now. So, wasn't it like she has a certain vision for like what she wants to do with the like the cafes or the restaurants or whatever, but she's kind of afraid to present it to this other person that's kind of like a big stakeholder or whatever in the company. And then Joker kind of helps her like gain the courage to talk to this guy and like present her desires for what she wants to do with the company. I think that was the deal, right? So I guess she kind of undergoes some growth in that aspect, and that Joker helps her gain some confidence so that she can kind of tackle this whole thing of the company being thrown into her lap. So I would say that she's capable of growth. She's like this pure person that has this cute voice, but does she really do a lot of cute things? Not really. I mean, especially when she gets into the whole I'm gonna fucking slaughter you with my axe kind of thing. I mean, you gotta watch out for that whole deal. Like, really? Do you want to risk a romantic relationship with a girl who every once in a while acts like she might just completely go bonkers and lose her shit? I don't know, man. I think 7 is a appropriate ranking for Haru when you consider those things. Let's move on to number 6. We have Makoto Nijima. I know that Makoto is like super popular. For some reason, she seems to be the choice of best girl for more people than any other girl in the game. And I'm gonna tell all you Makoto simps right now, you can just fuck right off. Let me break it down for you here. She's not number 6 for nothing, right? I mean, she has some things going for her. For one, Makoto is a very strong character, and I feel like she really fits in with the whole vibe of Persona because, she's in this position at school where she's the student council president, but she feels like she's being bossed around, right? She's being kind of used by the principal for certain little dirty jobs, and she doesn't really appreciate that. So at first, she wants to go with the flow and just be the model student, but then later, she sees the value in creating her own path, right? And rebelling against what society wants to kind of force on her. And that culminates in the revealing of her persona, right? And that's such a cool moment in the game. It really makes her like I said, just a really strong character. But here we're not ranking the top characters in the game. We are ranking the top waifus. And obviously, being a really good character counts for something. And I think she does pretty well in the balance between strength slash independence and vulnerability quality. Because even when the school principal is bossing her around, she's still a very capable person. She's willing to take on those responsibilities head on. So she's still a very responsible person. But the thing is, she's not very independent because, like I said, she's letting the adults set the path for her instead of her just deciding her own path. But then later, with the help of Joker, she finds her rebellious side. So she's definitely one of the strongest waifus in the game as far as being capable of growth. She grows into this woman that really wants to set her own path and take on things by herself, and that's really cool. And she does show just little bits of vulnerability here and there. The biggest example of that is her being afraid of the dark when they go into the Sakura house. So, I mean, she has little bits about her that you can count as little cute things about her. But for the most part, I feel like she's kind of her own person, especially towards the end. So I'm not really sure how much she would get out of a relationship with Joker after she becomes this strong woman and develops a good relationship with her sister. Plus there's the quality capable of having fun. I don't think she's very good in that aspect. She seems to be serious almost all the time. And the other thing is, during her whole confidant arc, it wasn't even really so much about her as a character as it was about her friend that's in a relationship with this playboy that's like trying to take advantage of her, right? I mean, it's more about her, that character than it is about Makoto. So it feels like even though you do kind of have that character development of her becoming this rebellious woman that wants to blaze her own path, I feel like they kind of missed an opportunity with her confidant arc to explore her character even more. So Makoto's got some things going for her, but there are definitely at least a couple glaring things I think that hold her back from being a top tier waifu. So she's at number 6. So let's move on to number 5. We have Chihaya Mifune, and I know this is probably higher than most people are expecting Chihaya to be. I didn't really start her confidant arc until probably about midway in the game because you've got kind of that hurdle of you need 100,000 yen to buy the Holy Stone, right? And even then, probably ranks like 1 through all the way up to 8 even maybe. I just didn't really connect much with Chihaya. I had her ranked in my rankings at number 11 most of the time, so she was like second to last. But then ranks 9 and 10 come along in her confidant arc, and oh my gosh, she just becomes this major cutie, man. When you romance her, she's just so adorable. Oh my gosh, you just want to like hug her and squeeze her, you know? I find the whole country girl who's not used to the city thing like really cute because then you get to like take her around the city and she's all like, ooh, you know, and it's just so cute. I really feel like she would be a particularly romantic option. That's the big reason why I have her up this high. I think she's definitely capable of being a compassionate and caring person, and she's definitely capable of having fun too. I mean, like I said, you can take her around town. She's just a little country girl. The balance between strength slash independence and vulnerability is a little tricky because at first she's definitely vulnerable, right? I mean, she's being taken advantage of by this dude that wants her to become a fortune teller and sell these holy stones and stuff, right? Joker does help her snap out of those delusions, right? And make her realize the limits of reading people's fates. So she does grow and she does become a stronger person in that regard, but I still feel like she might be a little too much on the dependent side. She might be kind of a clingy person. You gotta watch out for that, I think, with Chihaya. And plus, her confidant arc isn't as strong, I feel, as some of the other characters in the game. But yeah, I mean, she's just such an adorable waifu that I think number 5 is an appropriate ranking for her. So let's move on to number 4. We have on Takamaki. On is the first waifu that you come to know in the game. And obviously, I kind of grew attached to her just because of the simple fact that when you first meet her, there's really not many other waifus that you know about in the game. So she just kind of becomes temporary best girl just by default at that point, early game. But there are definitely some things to admire about An. I feel like she is definitely a compassionate and caring person. You definitely feel that with her relationship with Shiho. You know, after she tries to commit suicide, An helps support Shiho get back on her feet and overcome the devastation that she experienced with Kamashita. And An is in a way, she's kind of like Mayuri Sheena from Steins Gate, who I mentioned earlier as the example for being compassionate and caring. She just gets people. You get that sense that she's a pretty socially adept character. And plus, I mean, let's face it, she's one of the top 3 best looking waifus in the game. Her eyes are just striking. Her eyes are just beautiful, man. Like you could just stare and gaze into her eyes forever, man. And she's a model, so obviously she's hot. And so let's go through some of the other things here. Balance between strength slash independence and vulnerability. Even though she's pretty popular and she's good at socializing with people, at the same time, I feel like she kind of sells herself short. She's not real low self-esteem, but it does seem like she has a little bit of an issue with that. You could tell during her confidant arc that she feels like she has areas where she needs to grow. And I don't think she really has any particular thing that she just excels at, you know? Because, like, even with the modeling, she doesn't even really work that hard at the whole modeling thing, right? Like, she doesn't work out and keep in shape and stuff until towards the end she tries to kind of get into that. But the thing that kind of holds on back from being top 3 is she just doesn't have any particular qualities that make her stand out above some of the other waifus. I didn't mention the capable of having fun quality. I think there, to some extent, yeah, she's capable of having fun. At the same time, I feel like she's the typical popular high school girl, which, you know. But at the same time, the way she cares about other people really makes it so that she's deserving of a pretty high ranking on this list, so that's why I have her at number 4. So let's go to number 3. We are getting close to the end here, folks. And number 3, I have Futaba Sakura. I want to rank her higher, honestly. I do, because I like Futaba so much, because she's the character in the game that is most like me. I'm not as socially awkward as she is, but I can totally relate to her. I guess I've never really experienced a trauma quite as deep as losing her mother like she did. I never like shut myself in my room or anything like that. But still, you know, I have certain experiences in my life that allow me to kind of relate to Futaba. When you go through the list of waifu qualities here, I mean, she definitely checks the marks, right? Capable of having fun, definitely. I mean, she plays video games. She's a total geek. You know, she geeks out on anime figures and stuff. I mean, she's a really cool chick, right? Let's see, balance between strength slash independence and vulnerability. I don't think she does as well with the balance because she's definitely a vulnerable person. Obviously, she has low self-esteem. She blames herself for her mother's death. She's a shut-in. She's as socially awkward as they come, right? Joker has to ease her into society, right? And she's so dependent on Joker for helping her get out of her shell. So she does end up being a bit of a clingy waifu, unfortunately. Capable of growth, definitely. You could tell, like, she really comes out of her shell during the progression of her character arc. So, I mean, she's very high on that quality. Does cute things. Hell yeah. I would say of all the waifus in this game, she's the most exemplary when it comes to doing cute things. She just does cute things so much. She's just so adorable. I just love Futaba, man. But the thing that holds her back from being top two is, like I said, she's a little too vulnerable. She's childish, and I don't know if she can really provide much in a romantic relationship because she's still too immature. So that I think is the one thing that holds her back from being a top tier waifu. But give her 2, 3 years, man. She could blossom into this really beautiful person who cares about other people, can socialize, and provide all the loving things that you want in a relationship. So, 18-year-old Futaba might just actually be best girl. Futaba in 2 or 3 years might actually beat the top two girls here that I'm about to reveal. But I have to rank her at where she is now, which is at number three. Well, this is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. I'm about to reveal who is best girl in the Persona 5 series. So it's down to Kasumi Yoshizawa, the new girl, and Sadayo Kawakami, the teacher. Once I reveal number two, then you're going to know who number one is, of course, by process of elimination. So, what do you say, ladies and gentlemen? Drumroll. Number two, the runner up for Best Girl in Persona 5 is Kasumi Yoshizawa. I mentioned earlier that An is one of the top three best looking waifus in Persona 5. Well, Kasumi here is also one of those three. When she broke onto the scene, when Royal came out, she took the Persona 5 community by storm because just look at her. She is the epitome of beauty, right? Look at her face, her eyes, just everything. Her beauty is captivating, just stunning. And she's further proof that redheads truly are the spiciest girls, man. From Asuka Langley Soryu to Rias Gremory to Yoko Littner to Maki Nishikino, all those lovely redheads, and now you have Kasumi Yoshizawa. And it's not just her face, her body too, man. She just has a super sexy body. There's one point after you get into third semester, you unlock ranks 6 through 10 of her confidant arc, and I forget exactly which rank it is. It might have even been rank 10. I can't remember for sure, but she gets this gymnastics routine that she wants to show to her coach, right? And she wants Joker to be there along with her coach to watch her do it. And she comes out, she's in this just gorgeous gymnastics outfit. And you know the gymnastics outfits, they're like the type of gymnastics she does. Actually, you have the leotard, but you have like this tiny little skirt that's like covering up the bottom of the leotard. And you just see her come out in that outfit and her legs, man. Oh my God. Kasumi's legs are just fucking wonderful. Kasumi has some serious sex appeal, way more sex appeal than a 15-year-old girl who just entered high school should have any business having. Even that is not the full extent of her beauty. She's a gymnast, right? It's in the way she moves, the grace, the elegance of her movements. Is beautiful. So she's just all around beauty personified. But let's go beyond that, folks. Let's go through the waifu qualities that I've been following so far, right? Capable of having fun. Definitely. Towards the beginning of the game, actually, you're kind of in this deal where the outings that you have with her, like when you take her out and stuff and hang out with her, there's nobody else that really knows about Kasumi. Like the other characters, they don't know about her. And it makes sense because she's new to the game. So they didn't want to shoehorn her in and have her mixed into the whole story that they've already set up, right? That would just make things really complicated. So she has her own separate little arc kind of going. And during that arc, you get this sense that she's this secret girl that only you know about and only you can admire her beauty. To me, that just adds to the allure of Kasumi. Compassionate and caring. Yeah, obviously she's really passionate about gymnastics. The fact that she's 15 years old, she might be somewhat emotionally immature, but I feel like at the same time, I think she understands what it's like to care for somebody. And so I think she is capable, even at being only 15 years old, I think she is capable, at least to some extent, of being a romantic girlfriend. Balance between strength slash independence and vulnerability. Sure, yeah, she's definitely got that too. She might lean a little bit more towards the vulnerable side because, like I said, she's 15, she's a little immature. But then at the same time, she has a resolve in her, right? Especially the fact that, and this is really important, you have to remember, she is the only girl in the game that confesses to Joker first. She gets major points for that, right? That shows you that she's determined, man. And especially considering how embarrassed she gets when the possibility of getting in a romantic relationship with her first comes up. I mean, she's just blushing like crazy, man. I mean, she is like so embarrassed, but she fights through it, man. She's a trooper. Does cute things, maybe not to the extent of Futaba, but still, she's pretty good in that category too. So, I mean, you could tell, like, all around, Kasumi is just an excellent, high tier waifu. But here's the thing. Even though third semester was very heavy on Kasumi, and obviously you had major character revelations for Kasumi in the third semester, especially with her taking on the personality of her big sister who died, and she blames herself for her sister's death because her sister was trying to protect her, right? And she jumped in front of this oncoming truck and died. She definitely encountered some real growth during that arc because she learns to accept herself as Sumire instead of as her sister Kasumi. But then at the same time, obviously, when you get into third semester, she becomes part of the Phantom Thieves. So all the other characters in the game get to know her. So she loses the whole allure of being like this little secret. During my playthrough, I nicknamed her Joker's dirty little secret because of the dynamics of her relationship. But she loses that at the end of the game because all the characters learn about her. So because of that, she actually loses a little bit of allure. So anyway, that leads me to rewarding the crown of best girl of Persona 5. Dun 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 dun. Sadayo Kawakami, ladies and gentlemen, is the best girl. And yes, if you followed my playthrough, you might have seen this coming. After you beat the Maruki boss, there are a few more things that kind of happen before the game wraps up. You get the Valentine's Day dates, you get the White Day dates, And then you get the little goodbyes that each of the characters says before Joker moves away or goes back to his home. And I saw those three things as the final opportunities for these waifus to make an impression on me. And the Valentine's Day dates didn't really do a whole lot for me. But then the White Day date and the goodbye that Kawakami gives you at the end of the game really just drove home for me that best girl just can't be anybody else but Kawakami. It just has to be her. There's just something unique about Kawakami. It's kind of hard to put your finger on it, but let's just go through the qualities here and I can explain what makes Kawakami so special, right? So, first we have capable of having fun. Yes, I think Kawakami is pretty high on that quality because she's got a lot of stress on her, right? She's a teacher. She has to make money because she's trying to pay off these two parents that are trying to guilt trip her into blaming herself for their kid's death. So she's got a lot of stress. And in her interactions with Joker, she really felt like she could cut loose and just kind of let herself go and open up to Joker. That was a really nice thing to see. There wasn't any other waifu in the game that really made me feel like that way as you were going through her confidant ranks. And to be honest, I don't think I've really mentioned this before, but the whole thing about remember how even when I just first started the game, I was all simping on Kawakami, like saying, "Oh my God, the hot teacher, like she's the one I want to romance and all that shit." To be honest, when I started the game, I was kind of half joking. I was just putting on an act with that. Because I thought it'd be funny to just hit on the teacher, you know. Obviously, I didn't know anything about her yet, so I couldn't really judge her. And then it's kind of funny because I was sitting there simping her for shits and giggles. And then she has the reveal that she's a maid, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, she's like super waifu material now, right? But then you get into her confidant arc, and it's awkward. She's kind of standoffish with Joker at first. And the relationship with Joker just starts out really awkward. And plus, you find out that she really does have some self esteem issues. When it comes to self esteem issues, you're going to suffer in one of those qualities that I mentioned, which is the balance between strength slash independence and vulnerability. Because when you have low self esteem, you have the potential to be very clingy. And you have a tendency to look at somebody that you're in a romantic relationship with in an obsessive manner, in a really unhealthy way, because you're just so dependent on that person to fill your emotional needs. The low self esteem with Kawakami was actually a rather big turnoff, and her stock was kind of sinking at that point. And actually, in my mind, I even had on ranked as the best girl of Persona 5 during that time because I kind of lost interest in Kawakami for a little bit. But then later, when you get into the later ranks of her confidant arc, you learn kind of about where she's coming from, right? You learn about those parents that are trying to take advantage of her, and you learn about this like dire situation that she's in, and I really started to feel for her, man. Sometimes she would talk to Joker about these things and I'd just sit there and be like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to respond to this. And then that's kind of when things start going back up with Kawakami, right? I start gaining interest back. Let's get back to kind of where she stands with some of these other waifu qualities, like compassionate and caring. I think she's definitely capable of that because she's a teacher. And that whole deal with that kid that died, that was her trying to tutor that kid. And you can tell with the way that she was tutoring her and others too. I mean, it wasn't just that one student. She tutored other students as well. She gave extra time for that she wasn't getting paid for. So, I mean, she really cares about her students. So I definitely think she can be a romantic, passionate girlfriend. Balance between strength slash independence and vulnerability. Towards the end of her confidant arc, she's able to overcome that guilt that she feels from that whole incident with that student that died. And she's able to put that maid side job behind her and focus on being the best teacher that she can be. And she even gets this new attitude about teaching. She's a pretty independent person towards the end of the game. She definitely still has moments where she can rely upon Joker as a boyfriend. So this is another quality that she has that's just very strong. Capable of growth. I mean, I've already pretty much gone through that, right? With her change in attitude that Joker helps her with, and then does cute things. This is another area where she just has these multiple layers. Like, you know how she does her maid moe personality, but when she's with Joker, she can't really keep that personality going. She has to cut loose, and sometimes she even goes into mother figure mode, right? Telling him he has to eat well and stuff like that. I guess some people might think like she didn't keep her moe personality going, so that's not really cute. But I argue that it's actually the opposite. The fact that she breaks that moe persona so that she can be a mother figure and help you out with little things in life, I actually think that makes her even more adorable. Because if she was just doing that moe cute personality all the time, it would just feel like an act, right? It just feel like she's messing with you and she's not really revealing her true self to you. But the way she opens up with Joker, I just love it. I just love the way she switches between the moe personality and then the whole caring for Joker deal, the mother figure, the way she goes back and forth. It's just, I just love it, man. I just love it, love it. Have I covered everything? Is that I think that pretty much covers why Kawakami is best girl of Persona 5. Oh, one more thing that I should mention. She's kind of reminiscent of Nico Yazawa in a way from Love Live because you know how we have that whole meme about how she could be your angel or she can be your devil. She can like assume whatever personality you desire. Well, Kawakami has that too. She has her own kind of twist to it, but she can be romantic if you want her to be romantic. I mean, and she has that kind of hopeless romantic vibe going, and it's just really cute. But then she can also be a steady person that you can rely on. And then obviously she's a fucking hot teacher, man. She's best girl because she's a teacher and I'm a professor. What better person is there for a professor than a teacher like Kawakami, right? Uh, if I were to do my top five waifus of all time, I might honestly put Kawakami in there. That is how good she is. What else can I say, man? Best girl of Persona 5, without a doubt. I didn't mean for this to go this fucking long. But yeah. Um, I hope you enjoyed this lecture tonight. I hope I made the case for why I should be a figure that people should look up to as far as analyzing and judging waifus. I hope I made that case today in this lecture. That was eventful. Oh, man. What do I say to that? That was eventful. That actually doesn't sound very good. Sounds like it might have been kind of boring. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not the best lecturer in the world because I can kind of drag stuff out a bit. But I will try to improve, and I hope that this was fruitful. I hope you learned something tonight, and I will be back with more lectures in the near future, so stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. And I will be posting this video on my YouTube, Tomoko is Bay, too. So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, then please go on to Facebook and like my page. Still waiting for the day my waifu becomes real. And if you're watching this on Facebook, go over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, Tamako is Bay. Goodbye, everyone, and have a good night.